Okay. I'm here, you're there, alone, likely sitting in the dark or whatever it is you're doing. But we both know why you clicked on this video. Project Zomboid recently released their Build 42 update. A very long time in the making. So long that my Discord used to make jokes that we'd get GTA 6 before we ever saw Build 42. Well, now that it's here, how do we feel about it? In this video, I'll be covering my basic thoughts on the update and its general gameplay. I'll be mainly focusing on the items I find most interesting, or at least the main points that I've experienced so far. And before we jump in, if at any point you like what you're seeing, consider joining my community via Discord or by subscribing. And with that, things are about to become more unstable. The first major addition in Build 42 is the expanded map, new towns and locations. I haven't had a chance to explore all the new locations, and if you have, you're a bit unhinged. But from what I've seen, I personally feel this is the addition that appeals to me the most. The world feels much more lived in. For an example, here's the map before Build 42, and here's the map afterwards. The map was already incredibly vast, but this is beautiful. Endless amounts of fun to be had. Already one of my new favorite base locations is the Echo Creek gas station. This building has lots of storage, 2 gas pumps out front, and an apartment upstairs. Most of the footage you will be seeing is from this location. But the second addition that caught my attention, but not necessarily in a good way, was the new aiming system. Now, I'm not a stranger to playing in Project Zomboid role-playing servers, and in these servers, they often use mods that improve upon the base aiming system. But in Build 42, in my not so humble opinion, I'm not really a fan of it yet. Maybe this is just me needing to get used to it, but I definitely see what the devs are trying to achieve here, and I'm very much willing to see it out. So I'm not willing to rule out the aiming quite yet. Very excited to see where it goes from here. On to the next. Animals. Now this really piqued my interest. I enjoy base building, hoarding supplies, and becoming sustainable in Project Zomboid. So the addition of animals really plays into this for me. Now I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm excited about animals joining the game, it is fairly overwhelming to me. Overall, this update feels like learning a whole new game, and Zomboid already has a fairly steep learning curve as is. But adding animals, new fishing mechanics, hunting, a new building menu, a new crafting system has my brain strangling itself trying to wrap around all this new information. But the animals really do intrigue me. I haven't got to play around with them too much, but once I realized I could pet livestock, I was instantly bought in. You can check out animal stats, rename them, pick them up, and even kill them for butchering, which when I did this, my girlfriend was watching and became very upset with me. Luckily for her, the other sheep enacted revenge by knocking me flat on my backside. Once this happened, I was once again bought in. I love animals in this game. Also, one of my YouTube friends, Autumn from BS and Bubblegum, stated that you can gather chickens and survive fairly well off of eggs, which I was able to stumble upon a crazy farm near Echo Creek. It had almost every animal, endless amounts of eggs, and a ridiculous number of infected wandering around. Which, why in the hell were there so many zombies in this area? This 100% was a cult before the zombie apocalypse fell upon Kentucky. The next update that I was extremely excited about before this beta was even announced was basements. Oh man. Do basements have me enthralled. The thought of planning out a base with a basement for extra storage, or to even decorate one as if I was a doomsday prepper. To other people I've talked to, basements seem very minuscule, as in it's not very important to them. But for me, this has to be one of my favorite additions when it comes to base-related items. And quickly, as well as the other buildings having more of a visual appeal, like the police station in Rosewood having a upstairs. Oh my goodness. Love it. Muscle strains. Yeah, this is one I'm most conflicted about. I didn't know this was a thing when I first jumped into Build 42, and this single-handedly got me killed several times when I first played. It wasn't until I spoke with my friend Autumn where I learned the ins and outs of it. Essentially, when engaging in combat, your character will develop muscle strains that will slowly cause you to become exhausted quicker and can totally debilitate you if not addressed. When I learned this, I threw a fit. I was quite unhappy about it, as I felt it changed the combat system way too much, especially because I prefer melee combat over the use of guns in this game. So I felt this was quite targeted towards my style of gameplay. But once I played around with it a bit more, I started to like it. It nerfs combat a bit and makes you think more. It makes you plan more. So it's beginning to grow on me, to be honest, despite it being fairly silly to develop muscle strains after just a bit of combat. But I'm also sure this can be combated with higher fitness or strength traits. Something I want to play around with. Ah yes, the Moodles. I haven't spoken to anyone yet who has enjoyed the new Moodles in build 42. Now, I'm not the best person to speak on this since I never used the base game Moodles to begin with. Using mods to, in my opinion, enhance them. So I straight up dislike the new Moodles, never would have liked them, and will likely use mods in this space no matter what. But just like the aiming, I'm willing to give it a fair shot. I would actually like to hear your feedback regarding the Moodles. Do you like them? What don't you like about them? Type me some novels so I can steal your opinions and use them as my own when asked about this in the future. View radius and lighting. This one will be fairly quick, but I wanted to touch on it. I enjoyed the new view radius a ton. I don't know if that's a controversial opinion, but the current view radius always made me feel like the game was glitching when driving or whipping around quickly. It wasn't glitching, it was just a trick on my eyes since the view radius looked a bit pixelated. So the new view radius is an absolute win for me. The lighting is also something I've enjoyed so far. I've heard from some folks that they don't enjoy the new lighting, especially with the darker nights, but I personally never used flashlights in the base game, so this will incentivize me to do just that. And I really love the aesthetic street and porch lights bring to this game. It looks very pleasing and brings a vibe to the game that, in my opinion, was missing. In this topic, I'll be combining a lot of items that I've seen and noticed and want to share my quick thoughts on. Fighting animations, seeding animations, dragging zombies, and sounds. The new fighting animations and overall feel I actually like. It feels more explosive and I find myself liking it a bunch. Sad that the muscle strains discourage me from fighting all day every day, but oh man, I can get used to this. Another animation I didn't care too much for, but found myself enjoying, was the dragging zombies function. I forgot about this addition until I saw it as an option while playing, and while messing around with it and tossing a zombie out the window. Yeah, I like this a lot. Much more than just grabbing a corpse and the body magically disappearing in your inventory. Another animation that I used to use mods for was seeding animations. No real thoughts on this other than, hell yeah, about time. The last animation change that I am undecided on is taking off a mask to eat or smoke. When I first noticed this, it threw me for a loop. Now, I was one to take off my mask already when playing simply for role-playing purposes, but for the game to enforce that as law, I don't know. I'm currently leaning towards liking it, for the same reason I like the seeding animations, the lightings, and the dragging the zombies and so forth. Realism. It's in the game. These sounds. This one also, just like the map, makes the game feel more lived in. So your character screaming when you push the Q button, your character making grunty noises while swinging, your character crying while sad. I like this a lot. I remember joking when I was first playing the update that it sounded like my character was moaning or grunting a little bit, but as I got to play around with it, I actually think it feels realistic. So the sounds are pretty good. Like it a ton. I hate that jump scare. Expanded lore. Now this is another thing that threw me for a loop and hurts my brain. There's more magazines, books, newspapers, TV, and radio. This is something I've wholeheartedly ignored during my first few test runs, strictly because I felt overwhelmed learning all this new information. So for now, I'm mentally checking out, at least until build 42 is finalized. Now I'm genuinely excited for these additions as they're expanded on. Good job, dev team. I promise I will tap in eventually. But if anyone could sum up the lore pretty quickly in the comments, please do. I would appreciate that a ton. Thank you so much. The last thing I want to touch on is high volume areas. Now this is something I am curious if they'll adjust or if this is just the new norm, but it seems like zombies are more clustered in specific areas. This is also something I've heard from other YouTubers and other people playing Project Zomboid, that they've noticed that zombies are more densely compacted in certain areas and it's a little overwhelming, and I've experienced this a few times and don't know how I feel about it quite yet. It makes looting valuable areas more difficult, but there's also a sense of realism that I like about it. But with the muscle strain system, it's a lot. This is one where I assume my opinion will be changing if it gets me killed. I'll be okay with it until I die because of it, and then I will hate it with my entire being. There's a lot of this update that I haven't experienced yet, but I will throw the list on the screen right now. There's just so much to this update. There's expanded map, new towns and locations, underground areas, basements and high-rise buildings, new lighting system, darker nights, performance optimization, animal husbandry, wild animals, new fishing mechanics, expanded lore, new building menu, initial crafting, improved agriculture and crops, dynamic music, player vocals, new closed containers, weapons and world objects, better UI scaling, randomized wilderness, biomes, and new grass, basic tracking and hunting, improved gunplay, new seated animation, corpse dragging and window chucking, more Romeo-like zombie spawn locations, improved sneak and combat balance, environment and story improvements. And as I mentioned in the intro, if you want me to do a deeper dive into this update, nudge me and I'll look into doing a more in-depth breakdown. If you like Project Zomboid content, which I'm assuming you do if you're here, check out some of my other videos. I'll leave a few on the screen for you to pick from. And if you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. And with that, thank you so much for watching. It really does mean the most. And I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Goodbye.